and good morning. I think I'm just going to read the title and the blurb and jump in. Our Exodus from Scare City. If there is any one thing in the matrix of human civilization that has held us in bondage, it is the idea of lack, of not enough. This is, and always has been, a lie. Scarcity is created for the purpose of control. There is no shortage of energy, not even the energy we call money. Zeros exist in abundance, and the bankers have been adding them at will for a long time. A long, long time is what I wrote. Peak oil is another deception. Oil is a self-replenishing resource that we do not even need to sustain life. In case you haven't noticed, the mindset that is propagated in our culture is one of fear. Fear is dominant in human thinking. However, something amazing is happening as we wake up and learn the truth. We are starting to escape from the artificially created scare city. After I wrote that blurb, I began to think this would be a good one for Halloween. It's the Exodus from Scare City. Yes, indeed. I've been there where lots of people are right now, wondering where the money's going to come from that I so desperately need to pay this bill or to accomplish that or whatever. Much of my life, I have lived in the consciousness of lack. I was the oldest of 6 children, and I can remember thinking as a child, actually, probably a child having reached double digits, if only I can get to the place where I can make $100 a week, I'll have it made. That was the mindset regarding money that I had as I entered my teenage years. And I began working, well, actually, I began working at age 11 with my father. And my first outside job, I got $1.25 an hour. $1.25 an hour. I was 14 years old. My dad used to pay me 50 cents a floor to scrape the plaster up off the floor after he was finished plastering. And I got to do each floor twice, the first for the brown coat and then for the finish coat, or the white coat as it was called. In any case, I've been working all of my life until later on when I don't really work anymore. I just have fun. Well, more or less. I mean, there are things that I do that would be considered work, except they're not a job anymore, because I no longer think in terms of having to get money, especially since I went on Social Security, which, even though it's only $910 a month, I'm going to get a raise in January, according to what they've said. It'll be a few more dollars a month. I mean, I don't even make. I mean, I exist on what would be considered poverty income in most of the world, and yet I live very well. I don't have a lot of financial needs, and I'm actually able to save money each month. Not a lot, but enough so that I can share now and again with friends and people that are in need, a little bit here and a little bit there, and I do. But so many of my friends, I mean, I've heard say, but I need money. I need money. And that's how we've been trained. But I want to tell you something, folks. There is no shortage of money in our world. There is a shortage of the will to distribute it fairly. And I don't mean that everybody should get handouts for doing nothing. That's not what I'm saying. But nobody should have to pay to live on the world, on the planet that we were born on. Nobody. We should all have a roof over our heads, and we should all be willing to share with one another. Not work, share, serve, create. That's what life is all about. And I'm not about talking about people getting handouts from society for sitting around doing nothing, or for getting drunk or taking drugs or whatever. Whatever. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about our natural rights to exist without the artificially created worry of not having enough and of not being good enough. The financial system and the political system have created the not enough as far as material things. But the religious world has created the lack of not good enough. You'll never measure up. You're defective. You're a sinner. And we live in that world. We have been born into that world. And our parents didn't know any better when they taught us what they were taught. It has gone on and on and on like an endless broken record, just repeating over and over and over again. That cycle is being broken now. It's being changed. People are waking up. I talked yesterday about all of the people in Europe and in other places of the world, but especially Europe, decrying the austerity measures of governments. Governments are not broke. It's artificially created by the bankers, folks. It's artificially created by those that want to rule the world and dominate human society and own all the property for themselves, just for the idea of we want to be in control. Remember, folks, they, the leaders that want to be in control, are the representation of our own individual shadow that wants to be disconnected and yet in control. And disconnected and in control is an illusion. You can't be disconnected from all that is. You can't be. No matter how hard you try. It's a delusion if you think you succeed in being disconnected. You are my brother. You are my sister. All life is here to sustain us, and we are here to serve all life. Each one of us is here to create and to build and to manifest that which we need. We derive our fulfillment from that. And the world is fulfilled. It has everything it needs. We can even create the perception of lack, of scarcity. And we realize that it is a self-generating manifestation. It is a self-fulfilling prophecy. We believe we don't have enough, so we get to experience not good enough, and not having enough. We get to experience it. But we can change it anytime we want. Yes, there's some justice that needs to be applied. There's more people that need to be awakened. As I sat in the atrium last night doing one of my fire meditations with 2 screwdrivers. Yeah, when I do go in the atrium with the fire, I generally have two screwdrivers. That's the norm. Very rarely is there an exception. And I was led feeling to pray for the bankers and the politicians and the people that have played their role, their dark role, so well and have stolen our peace of mind. And we've allowed them to do it. We always allow our ego to play its little game of being disconnected and then of running out and finding ourselves in the pig pen and the squalor. Yeah, the human race, we've done that. We've done that while some sit adding zeros to their wealth, not in the front but in the back. So that we used to think that if we could become a millionaire, we'd have it made. I mean, remember I said $100. $100 a week, I thought when I was a boy. $100 a week and I'd have it made. Well, $1,000 a week for a lot of people isn't enough. And some people, $1 million a week isn't enough. A millionaire is passé now. Now there are billionaires. And there probably exist trillionaires. Can you believe it? That hoard the wealth for themselves so that they can control others. That's the problem. That's the problem that's being addressed as the International Common Law Court convenes, naming the Pope and naming the Queen. And many other politicians and leaders, so-called leaders of our world, that have created an artificial world of scarcity, a deceptive world. That money is created out of thin air by those that run the system, while there are people that can't afford food to feed themselves. What's wrong with this picture? What's wrong with this picture when the banks that invested nothing take our property from us, claiming ownership, when they never loaned us anything? They created an entry, a bookkeeping entry, and some imaginary ledger that gave themselves assets that they stole from the people that they were, quote, lending to. That's our structure. That's our world. And we're waking up. And we're having an exodus planned from this scare city that we've lived in, the city of fear, the city of terror. Imagine a world, imagine with me a world where no one has to worry about having enough good food to eat or good water to drink. Nobody has to worry about putting a roof over their head, for shelter is a given. Everybody deserves shelter living in a physical world. A new reality is arising, which needs new governance, new prosperity program, and a disclosure of truth that we are not alone. That's sort of, that last sentence, that last little bit is from Sheldon Neidel's message last night. We're returning, as he said, to our natural state of divine service and full consciousness. And we're making our exodus from scarcity. And I mentioned oil in the blurb. They've known for years that oil wells that went dry go back a few years later and they're not dry anymore, because oil is self-replenishing. The earth makes it. It's not the way we've been taught. It's not from the decay of the dinosaurs and the plants during that era in human history. That's not it. That's not it. It's a lubricant that the earth generates so that it can function properly. It's like a blood, if you will, of the physical planet. I don't understand it completely, but that's what I understand to be something that we've learned. But does the mainstream media tell us that? No, we learned yesterday when there were all these demonstrations going on around the world over the weekend and into Monday. The mainstream media was silent about it. Their game is over. Their gig is up. We are waking up. And we are leaving en masse. We're going to leave Scare City. And we're going to enter the Jubilee, a time of celebration and prosperity for everyone. We're right on the cusp of that, right on the threshold, ready to go in and take our birthright back. We are king's kids. We are sons and daughters of the living God and Goddess. And we're waking up and remembering. Thank you again for joining me and listening. And if you don't mind, and if this touched you at all, please share it with your friends. And if you're in groups, share it with your group. I appreciate that because it helps the wake up accelerate even more. Namaste.